In.
Let's do it.
Browns-Bills joint practice yesterday.
Joint practice.
What did we learn? You were there.
I was there.
You're the only of the three that were able to make it. So what did you see? What were you impressed with? What about the quarterbacks?
By far the best quarterback on the field was Josh Allen.
Well, we knew that was
coming. And if you were hoping that the Browns quarterbacks, whoever it was going to look remotely like Josh Allen or that they could become Josh Allen, you were going to be very disappointed because Josh Allen looked like he was playing a different sport than the Browns quarterbacks. Does not mean that the Browns can't be effective with those quarterbacks, but if Josh Allen is the bar, the Browns have ways to go to get to the bar.
There's light years difference.
There is light years difference.
Point out a couple of things. What was he doing that made their offense look so sharp, and what weren't we doing?
I mean, based on the physicality. I mean, he's a huge human being.
Yeah.
The ball comes out lightning fast. I mean, he sees it, he deciphers it, and the ball comes out. He's got a howitzer for an arm.
Yeah.
So, I mean, 7-on-7, it was, ball out, ball. He's so quick, which is why he's an MVP candidate, which is why he is who he is one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL and on the track to go to the Hall of Fame.
Are you saying that our guys don't get the ball out fast?
Is that breaking news, Jay?
Saying quite the
Adam,
opposite.
Yeah, no.
Quite the opposite.
Which of these two are not alike?
I thought we'll get in the quarterbacks later on in the second hour, but I thought both Browns quarterbacks did have some good moments. I thought the guy who had the best moments might have been Taylor Green with his 3 snaps. They were fun to watch. He's a fun guy to look at. He is not going to play this year. Let's stop that right there.
What did you see in those 3 snaps?
There was red zone snaps. He threw an awesome jump ball to Tylan Wallace, and Tylan Wallace went over a defender to get it.
Nice.
And then they had what I think we will see if he does play this year is a red zone threat. Took the snap and just ran to the goal line and beat everybody out there. And it was effective.
Good.
Jay, have you seen him in person?
I have not. No, but I'm told he's imposing.
Obviously, can't. He's not. I don't know if he'll ever be ready to play quarterback in the NFL.
Right.
He's certainly not now. But
Right.
looking at him, you're like, wow.
Yeah, that's what I've been told. I'm told he's very imposing to look at.
And when the ball comes out of his hand, it looks beautiful. The problem is it's usually 3 yards ahead or behind the receivers.
It's that bad, really?
Which is why he's not going to start anytime
You're trying to
soon.
be nice, I think.
I'm trying to be nice. No, he looks the part. Everything that Todd Monken says, he's an awesome guy. But overall, I thought it was a really good day for the Browns.
Bull, you heard same reports I heard.
I was talking with Zach Jackson.
Yeah.
Because obviously Zach is covering every play.
Right.
And he goes, the first thing he said to me is, listen, the bar is about as low as it can get.
Sure.
But he said they both were okay.
Yeah.
Neither one separated from the other. He said that he thought Watson, for what it's worth, had the 2 best throws between the 2 of them.
I agree.
He said Shador had a nice 2-minute drill.
Yeah.
But not much besides that. And I think it's clear that throughout this whole process of the offseason, that neither quarterback has separated from the other. They've both just kind of been meh.
And the way we hear it is if there's a tie, then it's going to be Deshaun Watson.
It is. We might disagree with that, but it's going to be.
Mikey, the first question on the list was a great one, and I already know Bull's answer, so I think that you
But real quick, Jay, before we ask that
go ahead.
question,
Dive
I also
in.
talked to Zach because he was there yesterday.
Yeah.
And I said, Zach, just real quick as I'm driving back from Cedar Point, what were the big takeaways from camp, which leads us into that question.
Yeah.
Zach's big takeaways from being at joint practice yesterday, and Chris, feel free to chime in as you were there as well. Both rookie receivers, Concepcion and Boston, looked great, held their own. Big thumbs up against other competition.
Big time.
You agree with that?
Casey Concepcion got behind the Bills' defense, and the Bills' defense is pretty good. They're not the best in the league, but they're a good defense. He got behind him multiple times, made contested catches. I mean, at one point, I won't repeat exactly what he said because we can't do that, even on the...
You can give us a hint.
Yeah, the hint was the second touchdown he caught from Deshaun Watson. He threw the ball in the air and said something along the lines of, this, a couple other words, is too easy. Which you love that out of a rookie to have that moment and going up against a good defense, and he's like, this is easy. So I love the confidence out of KC. I thought him and Dylan Sampson were the 2 best weapons the Browns had because Sampson got into space a few times, even running the ball, and nobody could.
We saw that in the first preseason game. When he gets open space, and that's the problem. A lot of times they couldn't give him that open space. But when he gets there, he very much fits the bill.
Number 2 and 3 from Zach. Chris chime in again, but he was impressed by the offensive line and their first full cohesive effort against what was supposed to be or what is expected to be a pretty good Buffalo pass rush.
Right.
But the defense, which we'd heard a ton about in camp being the dominant side, got gashed by Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills. Chris, chime in on those 2 real quick before I ask Jay the question that we were going to get to in this topic.
Yeah, I walked over and watched the one-on-one specifically of the offensive and defensive lines because I was very curious to see what they were going to look like. And one-on-ones, you can only take so much out of, but I thought the Browns' offensive line held up really well against this Buffalo front. I thought the Browns' defensive line in one-on-ones, the interior defensive tackles, had more wins against the Bills' offensive line. I thought the edge rushers, we'll get into Alex Wright in a little bit, but they had some good moments, but it wasn't as consistent as maybe the Mason Grahams and the Mike Hall Jr.
So Mason Graham looked good.
Oh, he looked good. Mike Hall Jr. looked good. They got after that. The front, I thought, was a big takeaway that I liked what I saw from the Browns on both sides of the ball, which I think at this point, yeah, the first preseason game wasn't what you hoped for the offensive line. But again, these guys are only going so hard in practice. You're not beating each other up every day. So I think it's more of a, you got to wait and kind of ease your way into it, the physicality, and they rose to the occasion. They played well.
Love to hear that.
So the last
takeaway
and the last bullet, which leads us to the question is, Zach said the Browns held their own. And we know Zach, maybe not the most optimistic person in the history of humanity. So
I think Zach is fair.
He's a realist.
That's an unfair comment there, Mike.
Yeah, I mean,
no,
he should be
Zach's
either pessimistic or optimistic.
Exactly.
He should tell you what he sees and then leave it up to the reader or the viewer to decide if those comments give you pessimism or optimism.
So when Zach says the Browns held their own in a joint practice against
that holds weight.
It holds weight.
Yeah.
So the question I wanted to ask, which Bull answered in the rundown chat yesterday, so Bull, you can go last
he should
on
definitely
this one,
start. Well, I think you should start.
Or you can start, Bull. We have crapped on the Browns multiple times because we've heard terrible reports from practice.
Yeah.
Zach Jackson, as real as it gets, comes out and says in a joint practice against an AFC contender, they held their own. Does this make you think that maybe we are underrating the Browns entering the 2026 season? They might be slightly better than we think they were before yesterday.
And the answer is, I'm still stunned a day later that you're actually asking this question because it's one of the 13 craziest questions I've ever heard you ask.
Top 13?
Top 13.
Wow, that's quite a bar, Bull. He has a little notebook, and every time you ask one of these,
that's another crazy question.
Do you have pollsters that vote each week to see what goes on?
Yeah. I have an electoral college.
I love that you went top 13.
Yeah.
That's great.
I just think, like, it's. I know it's against another team, but it's still a practice. I'm not going to change my opinion about a team. And I first of all, I said 7 times there. I disagree with you, Mike, that this idea, like, we've crapped over the team. People are negative. That's fan propaganda that you are permeating, Mike, and I don't like that. We are giving honest opinions about what we think of the Browns.
Well, what do you think of the Browns?
I have said a number of times that I am very optimistic about the talent they have outside of quarterback. And you can say, well, okay. Would you rather me say the whole I'm not saying the whole team stinks.
No.
I'm saying the quarterback position stinks. And so they're not going to win a lot of games. And so holding their own with the Bills in one practice is not going to change my mind.
Right.
What did Zach see? He saw the wide receivers play well. I'm very optimistic already about the wide receivers.
Right.
The Browns, for the first time in forever, Jay, spent legitimate draft capital at the position.
Finally.
2 guys in the top 40.
And they appear to have gotten it right.
And it appears now, until they play regular season games, we don't know for sure. But at this point, I'd be shocked if either is not at least a good wide receiver, if not eventually a very good to great wide receiver.
Yeah.
I'm optimistic.
They're not Spencer Tillman.
No. I love Harold Fannin.
Cedric Tillman.
I love Quinshon Judkins.
Or Spencer
I
Tillman.
like Isaiah Bond. I like a lot of the young guys on defense. There's a lot to be excited about. So I don't call that crapping on the team. I'm crapping on the team, if you want to say it that way, based on their record. Because ultimately, I think they're going to have amongst, if not the worst quarterback play in the league. And if you have the worst quarterback play or near the worst quarterback play, even if you have some good talent other places, you're still going to struggle to win games, especially when I do expect the Browns defense to at least go backwards a little, losing their DC and their best player. Now, I don't think they're going to be a bad defense. I still think they're going to be a good defense.
Yeah.
And I think they will probably get better next year on defense with a second year with the DC and guys establishing themselves. But I think the defense will slip a little back this way. And even though the offense is more talented at wide receiver by a lot, I just don't think they're going to consistently get any kind of decent quarterback play. And so, no, it doesn't change my opinion on the outlook for the season.
Yeah, that's fair. I think I know your answer.
Jay, before you guys go, can I just say something to Bull?
Yeah.
Bull says I may be playing into fan propaganda by saying we've crapped on the Browns.
You get to respond
Hold
to that.
on.
Yes.
Bull, did you not just on Wednesday when you were sitting in Jay Crawford's chair say it'd be the best thing for this organization to go 0-17, have the worst record in football?
I did not say 0-17.
You said it'd be the best thing for this
though.
organization to have the worst record in football.
That statement is separate from what he thinks the talent level on the team is.
Right. That's not crap.
He was just saying this scenario would fit the team's long-term plan best. That's all. He didn't say they're going to go 0-17.
No, I did. Yeah,
but he said it'd be the best case scenario.
I said.
Well, and he's not lying. That's absolutely right.
What I said was, I don't think the Browns are going to be the worst team in the NFL, but I think they're going to be amongst the worst teams. And I said ultimately they would be better off when the season's over. I know during the season we don't want to watch games and see them lose.
No,
Nobody
we
wants
rooted
that.
for those last 2 games to be wins last year. What did we get for that?
Nothing.
We got nothing.
Nothing,
for that.
right? I'm saying
in the moment you got 3 hours of entertainment, but
in the obviously,
long run, but we would have had a much better pick.
Right. Obviously, the real best case scenario is one of these quarterbacks plays well and they're a playoff team and blah. But I'm living in reality, and I don't think that's realistic. So the realistic best case scenario is that the Browns' young players do the best they can under the circumstances, but ultimately the Browns finish with the first pick. I don't know why that's so controversial.
No, it shouldn't be controversial.
I wasn't saying they should purposely lose games.
I think there's a difference. There's a disconnect between that statement and what you hope or think is going to happen.
Yes. I don't think they're going to be the worst team.
No, and I don't either. I think, like you, I think they're going to be amongst the worst teams.
Yeah.
I do think, and I was a big proponent last year of saying, you don't, in the moment you want to win the game.
Of course.
You want those 3 hours of entertainment. But in the long run, in the big picture, it does serve your team best. If you're going to be bad, be the worst.
Yes.
Don't be the 5th worst. Don't be the 7th worst. Be the worst. Because there's no prize for being the 7th worst. There is a prize for being the worst.
Jay, the Bengals are one of, I still believe, even though they've won a decent amount of games in recent years, one of the worst organizations in the NFL.
They have historically
They have a bad owner. They have a bad GM. You worked in Cincinnati. You don't agree.
They made it to a couple Super Bowls,
I don't disagree. But I do like that Mike Brown fed me mock turtle soup once a year.
That's
so that
nice.
was very nice.
And I will I'll give Mike Brown a tiny bit of credit. He has been better with spending money the last few years, so I blame the GM more. However, the year the Bengals got Joe Burrow, and that last week of the season, the first pick was up for. I wanted the Bengals to lose that game.
You have to.
Because I wanted Joe Burrow. If the Bengals had drafted Tua instead of Joe Burrow,
oh my goodness,
they wouldn't have come anywhere near the Super Bowl that year.
And they wouldn't be where they are today.
Absolutely not. Yeah. And that's what I want for the Browns too. I don't think that's
I don't think it's controversial. Yeah. And Mike, I also don't think that's crapping on the Browns. He's basically saying if they're going to be bad, be really bad, get the 1 pick. I don't think that was a prediction of yours. Quickly to answer the question, because I know we got to go. We got to hit a break. Quickly, my view on this is it didn't change my overall view. I'm glad. It might give them a little bit of confidence. I think Todd Monken yesterday after practice, all I could see from him was an exhale. Because as his word said...
Not just an exhale.
Whew,
he was excited.
You could tell he was excited. He was excited by the fact that they didn't get bum rushed on the field.
Right.
He said, I think we look like we belong today. Well, congratulations, you're one of 32. You didn't look like you were a college team.
Yeah.
So that's good. I'm glad for that. That might give him a little confidence. Here's what I would have needed to see for me to change my opinion at all. Deshaun Watson looked better than Josh yesterday. Deshaun Watson hit every throw.
Or even close to him.
He was throwing deep balls. He was throwing outs. He was throwing everything. He wasn't check down Charlie, which, by the way, there was a funny tweet yesterday about what one of the Bills players was overheard saying, "What is this blank? Check city or check down city or whatever."
Yeah, right.
CJ Deuce was saying it.
Yeah.
That's not all he did.
That's not what you want to do. That's not what you want to be known for. So what I had to hear from yesterday's joint practice session was, oh my God, Deshaun Watson was head and shoulders the best player on the field yesterday. And he was basically even with Shedeur, maybe a little bit better. But to your point, way behind where Josh Allen is. And I think that's about where they are in the pecking order. Josh Allen is at the top of the NFL. Deshaun Watson is somewhere near the bottom.
Yeah. What I took out of the joint practice there it is just a confirmation of what I had already believed watching all training camp.
Yeah.
Was that the Browns are headed in the right direction. They have some young talent that will be very exciting.
So you're not changing your pick for wins totals?
I'm not changing my pick for wins totals.
Okay.
I think the defense, they were without Carson Schlesinger. I'll give them an asterisk. The Bills at times on offense moved the ball in chunks, but the defense also put up a good fight against the Bills offense. That's one of the best offenses. It just confirmed to me the Browns are in the right direction. If they get good quarterback play, solid quarterback play, they're going to surprise some people. That doesn't mean they're going to go to the playoffs. Doesn't mean they're contenders. It just means they're gonna win more games.
Most teams that get solid quarterback play finish up with more wins than losses. I don't know if that's doable.
Yeah.
If they get solid quarterback play, I could see that happening. But it's going to have to be really good play out of whoever's back there.
Yeah.
And I haven't seen that yet.
It's a good enough roster that they'd be a pretty good team if they got solid quarterback play. But I have no faith they're going to get good quarterback play.
All right, we're taking a break. When we come back, the Alex Wright injury. How serious was it? Chris Renkel, the man to my right, was right there when the play happened. He's got a little insight, and he'll share it when the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show comes right back.